coming up on Outdoor Oklahoma.
Used his brother's address in Oklahoma to get a Oklahoma lifetime license.
You got to love your office space, and this is my office.
We'll do that 4 times at every site, so that's about kind of 60 seines worth over the 3 nights.
Flavor that comes out of that first bite. You get that rosemary right off the top. Oh, you got him! You got him, Emily!
Oh! Nice mess of blue cat we have right there.
Ready.
Now, folks, this is what we're after. This is what you get in Outdoor Oklahoma.
Outdoor Oklahoma is brought to you by the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation, sharing the beauty, the adventure, and the spirit of Oklahoma's wild places.
Hi there, I'm Darrin Hill, and I'm the host of Game Warden Stories here at the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. In this podcast, I sit down with current and former Oklahoma game wardens as they discuss their passion for their job and also give me a few interesting stories about encounters with poachers. Here's one clip.
We do. We certainly do.
And I'm here with my good friend Kenny Lawson, who you've been a game warden for a long time now.
October will be 37 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I work with some guys that are not even that old yet.
Oh yeah, there's guys in my district that, I've been working a long time before they were even born. So
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah.
And with that longevity on a job, it shows you how much people love their work within the wildlife department
That's
or just
true.
working in the outdoors.
That's true. Yeah.
You have a passion.
You have to have that fire, and
Have you always been in the outdoors?
Yeah, I grew up hunting and fishing. I grew up on the outskirts of Tulsa, out in the country,
Okay.
and I've hunted and fished as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent a lot of time on. My aunt and uncle had a farm.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents had a farm, and we lived out in the country, so we might as well had a farm there. Just a small place, but there was woods and water everywhere, and so. I've hunted my whole life, and then as I got older, I became friends with Game Warden Tom Cartwright.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he wasn't a game warden then.
Oh really?
Yeah, I had a brief motorcycle racing career.
Okay.
His brother was my racing partner, and
Wow.
Tom and I hit it off really well, and he had taken the Game Ranger back then.
Yeah.
Game Ranger test a couple of times, and he called me up one day and said, "Hey, come and take the test with me tomorrow." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And he got hired, and so I spent the next year as much time as I could with him in his county, and that just made that desire to continue trying to get hired even more. So lucky enough, I was hired in 1988, and they put me in southeast Oklahoma in McCurtain County, and I've been there ever since.
Wow. Let's get started. You brought us a neat case today that you want to talk about.
Sure.
And you've been in a lot of different cases from all walks of life, but
Right.
this is one specific that it seems like it was a case that you had multiple states and even the feds involved.
That's right. Yeah.
And then multiple people were involved.
That's correct. So, I said earlier that McCurtain County borders Arkansas to our east. And
Yes.
so we get a lot of non-resident pressure from Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, and other states, but primarily those states. And so in 2012, in the summer, I got a call from a really close friend of mine who was a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Special Agent, Glenn Pye. He's retired now. And the information was that there was a guy that lived in a town in Arkansas not far from McCurtain County that had used his brother's address in Oklahoma to get a Oklahoma lifetime license. Now that's pretty common for people to do that because it saves them a lot of money if they can get by with it.
Yeah.
And we've worked a lot of cases on that. And so I followed up on that, and he had gotten a driver's license, which you have to have that first.
Yeah.
And about 3 months prior to that. And so he hasn't met the 6-month requirement to get a lifetime license yet. So I told Glenn we'll set on it until, maybe late August, early September. And sure enough, on August 29th, he come to Oklahoma City, got a lifetime license at the license desk. And that sounded simple enough, but the other part of the information was that he was allegedly hunting with a group of people from close to his area that were killing a lot of deer in Oklahoma and taking them back into Arkansas.
Huh.
Which turned out to be, that part of it was true. So another federal employee who probably would like to remain anonymous helped in the deal. So Weyerhaeuser Timber Company, one of the biggest landowners in the United States, probably. They have land on both sides, Oklahoma and Arkansas, both, and just a lot of roads that go in and out of the state. And when they started leasing that to private individuals or private hunting clubs, they had it surveyed, I guess, and had gates put up on the state line at every one of those where those roads came in and out of the states. Yeah. And so he had already installed 3 cameras, one on each gate. There was 3 gates there that were of interest. Okay. And I helped him put 2 additional cameras up, and we put them in a place where they weren't likely to be seen. Had them hid very well. And so initially we started looking at some pictures that we got pretty quick just to see if there was enough probable cause to continue the investigation.
This first one we have up here is this blue truck. It looks like maybe a C10 or something. What is it?
It's an old Ford, I believe.
An old Ford, yeah.
Probably a 74, 72, 73 Ford.
He's got a dog box in the back, and then he's also got, or he or they, looks like they've got Hunter Orange on. They're driving.
Yeah, so Arkansas gun season starts about a week before ours. Okay. And so in Arkansas, it's legal to hunt deer with dogs. Oh. But it's not in Oklahoma. Okay. Of course, you can see the gate there. That gate is right on the state line, and he is actually going back into Arkansas right there. And so the theory behind the cameras were if we got a picture like this with a deer in the back of the truck, then, if we could identify that person and find out that he's not licensed or it's out of season, something like that, we would have probable cause to continue the investigation. And we started seeing pictures like this right away. And so we added a couple of extra cameras on 2 of the gates, and we placed them a little bit further back from the gate. And fortunately, you can see in this picture, they're standing in Oklahoma. The gate you can see is open. And by Weyerhaeuser's policy, they were supposed to keep the gates locked at all times, even if they were in there. But that gate stayed open for 7 weeks, the whole time. And so anyway, this spot where you see these folks at just happened to be where they all met several times a day and planned their hunt or whatever. And so we really kind of got lucky there.
So it looks like there's a dad, maybe 3 kids here. Or?
Yeah. There was 25 different people involved.
And we blurred their faces here just to try to keep some.
Yeah, there was basically 2 large families. And I think there was one guy that was an Oklahoma resident. He was the only one there. The rest of them were all from Arkansas and close by, not far from there actually. And but this particular place, they yarded up every day. They were several times a day. They would end up right there. Yeah. And so I was able to. There were 25 vehicles involved, including ATVs, a couple of ATVs. Yeah. I was able to get tag numbers off of 23 out of those 25 vehicles. Wow. And once we identified, the owners of the vehicles, that actually most of them belonged to these 2 families.
Large families.
Large families, yeah. Yeah. And so anyway, I went to Facebook and started looking at pictures of people, and when I identified somebody on there, then I could go see who their friends were, and then identify some of the other people in the pictures. And so we identified 25 people, and like I said, they had 25 vehicles. And the interesting thing is one day one guy would be in one truck, and the next day he'd be in a different truck.
So they all shared trucks or something.
And the guy on the ATV, one day he'd be on a red ATV, the next day he'd be on a tan ATV. I think what they did is they just jumped on or in whatever had gas in it that day. And came to hunt. So yeah, it was interesting, but it was constant traffic in and out every day for 7 weeks.
Well, I could see their dogs in the back of the truck there. So
Yep. And so basically what they would do is turn the dogs out, run the deer into Oklahoma where they would kill the deer, and I guess turn the dogs back loose and run them back into Arkansas and kill the deer in Arkansas. It was just a small, relatively small area that they hunted. I mean, they hunted the same place every day.
Wow.
For 7 weeks. And this guy on the bicycle, maybe he didn't have a driver's license, who knows? But it's pretty interesting. You know, they used every mode of travel except horses and mules, I guess. But this was a pretty common day. I mean, it was just this was every day for 7 weeks.
And how many photos did you end up having?
About 50,000.
50,000. That's a lot.
I looked at those 3 different times.
Wow.
So it took, what I would do when we first started this, it was fall. It was, November, December, and January. So I typically work nights about 8 months out of the year there, and regularly. So what I would do is come in 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and open my laptop, put an SD card in, and start scrolling through. And there was times I would get a little sleepy, and I'd be trying to get a tag number and just couldn't get that last number on the tag. And then the next day I would open it back up and look, and it was just like it was there. And so,
wow.
Yeah, it took about 8 months to go through all that and be able to identify everyone, all the violations. And so in August, we got together. I called my partner Drew Polk, and we met, got together, stayed in contact with Special Agent Pye, and then he brought his partner, and then there was a 3-man investigative team from Arkansas that they had no idea what was going on until they got there, and we briefed them. And so I had everything that we needed. We had everyone's name, where they live, where they work, what they look like, everything. And so we broke up into teams and started interviewing people. Mm-hmm. They were pretty honest for the most part. I would ask them, how many deer did you kill last year? And they'd tell me, and I'd say Oklahoma or Arkansas. They killed them in Oklahoma. It didn't matter whether it was Oklahoma or Arkansas, but they would tell me, and I'd say, do you know this guy? Yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
Call him and tell him to come here and bring the deer that he killed last year. And then he would get on the phone and say, hey, the game warden's here. And then you'd hear, no, I'm not kidding, the game warden's here. He wants you to bring and they would show up.
Wow.
And so for their cooperation, we decided to just charge the men, family, because it was kids involved, moms, and, involved as well. And so they had killed, while we documented, they had killed 45 illegal deer that year, 29 bucks and 16 does, and a bear. Somehow, I don't know if the bear wasn't checked in or what I can't remember what the story was on the bear, but we charged 6 of those guys in Oklahoma, and those 6 plus the other 7, 13 total, were charged in Arkansas. And so we filed altogether, I think 78 charges on all those guys. And so they took their licks pretty well.
So that, and what they were doing there, that's actually crossing lines.
It is.
So that becomes a different charge altogether.
Yeah, it's a Lacey Act violation.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. And so that, a lot of times, it depends on the case and depends on the prosecution, but a lot of times it's just easier to make state charges because they don't
Yeah.
have to go to federal court. But the good thing about it is we've always got that federal charge to as a bargaining tool. You know, most people they don't want to be, you know, charged in federal court or any of that kind of stuff. And so every one of those deer was a separate Lacey Act violation. And so we discussed that, and I think everybody agreed to cooperate. And so we didn't, if that hadn't happened, if they had changed their mind or what, we can always go the federal
Lied
route.
about it or whatnot. I hope you enjoyed watching this clip. If you're interested in more Game Warden stories, please subscribe to us on the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation's YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.
I'll sum it up with 2 words: explore and adventure. And to me, being a game warden is just the epitome of those.
When you find a job you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life.
This is my office.
We joke all the time. We'll take a picture of a pretty sunset or of an eagle flying over, say this is our office, you know, and it really is.
I never know what the day's gonna bring me. I'll leave the house and drive down the road. I never know what the next turn in the road is gonna be.
If you're pursuing a career as an Oklahoma State Game Warden, first of all, you've got to love your office space. And this is my office. An Oklahoma State Game Warden requires a 4-year degree and
At least 12 hours of wildlife-related classes.
we are state law enforcement officers, so we not only protect and serve the sportsmen and wildlife, but we also protect and serve the people of Oklahoma.
Physically, you know, you need to be in shape, being able to climb up stuff, get around things.
You're put through an extensive training with our department where we deal with laws, we deal with scenario-based issues. We put you in really awkward and adverse conditions to see how you're going to react.
You might have to, you know, hike up a mountain, and you might have to swim, you might have to drag a deer.
You have to be cleat certified, which is what any officer in the state of Oklahoma has to go through. We're probably one of the best trained officers out there for all different types of situations.
One of the things that I like about being a game warden is it's a challenge. You can be challenged with the court system, you can be challenged with law changes, you can be challenged with the technology, but there's always something, if you're interested and motivated, there's always something new to learn.
Marine survival, boat training, ATV training, driving training. We have a defensive tactics where you learn how to basically take care of yourself in a really bad situation.
Someone that wants to be a game warden, they're gonna be an outdoor enthusiast. They're gonna love the outdoors. They're gonna be somebody that's interested in the resource, and I think that kind of comes from hunting and fishing a lot. They're gonna be somebody that wants to be involved in their community.
We've got more flexibility than probably any other job, especially law enforcement job. I patrol in a truck, patrol in a boat, patrol on an ATV, and I patrol on horseback. So being an Oklahoma game warden can be quite exciting at times, especially when you make a case, you contact the right people, things can get western pretty quick.
We do sting operations. We will run dummy deer, dummy turkeys. We will run all different kinds of decoys in order to catch violators in areas that we know we have problems.
If you love to hunt and fish, if you love to be outdoors, I mean, there's no better job in my opinion.
If you're thinking of becoming a game warden, you got to realize that there's times where it is fast, it can be stressful, you can struggle at times, but you got to look at the other side of it. It could be the greatest reward you could ever do, thinking that you could be helping the public, you're helping keep the county safe, the wildlife safe, and you're also creating a family within the wildlife department. If you really like to be out on the boat, checking fishermen, checking duck hunters, being on the water, being free, if you really like to patrol a WMA and see cool things like a waterfall, if you really like contacts with the public, you really like chasing spotlighters, if you really like such a diverse job that one day is completely different than the other day, you should apply to be a game warden.
So if the outdoors, wildlife, and our fish populations are important to you, protecting those is a very worthwhile cause. And if your answer to those is, yes, that's important to me, then being a game warden is for you. And working for the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation is the answer.
I love my job. I love what I do. It's hard to say that I work a day in my life when I'm extremely passionate about what I do every day. You think you're somebody that loves the outdoors and a game warden sounds like something you'd want to do? Come on, join our family. We'd be glad to have you.
So we're out here on Sardis Lake in southeast Oklahoma. We are doing our summertime seining. So that's nighttime seining using the bag seine you see behind us here. We're looking at young of the year sport fish and forage fish species. So on a lake the size of Sardis, we'll do 15 sites. We'll do about 5 a night. They'll go out perpendicular to the shore and then make like a door hinge turn in. So it's doing a single quadrat, so a quarter of a circle basically. We'll do that 4 times at every site, so that's about kind of 60 seines worth over the 3 nights. So this is pretty typical. So if you envision us doing this, 4 times at every location, that's pretty typical of what we're going to get. So let me dump this out in here and kind of take a look. So yeah, I mean, you multiply that times 4. That's a pretty typical haul. So sometimes we'll get hundreds of fish at each place, sometimes not. It just kind of depends. Any fish we get, we'll take those back to the office. We'll identify them down to species, measure them, and get a good idea of what our lengths look like for, as I said, our sport fish and our forage fish species here in Sardis Lake. So last night we went out and did some nighttime seining, and today we are sorting out the fish species from that seining site. So we'll identify the species that we have here, put them into their species specific groups, and then go through and measure them for total length. We've got some red shiner here, some bullhead minnow, got some inland silversides, gizzard shad. We've also got some white bass, bluegill, largemouth bass.
Outdoor Oklahoma is produced by the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation and is proud to serve and be funded entirely by sportsmen and women and outdoor enthusiasts who love and appreciate all things wild in the great state of Oklahoma. Connect with us online on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube. Want to know more about the Wildlife Department? Visit us at wildlifedepartment.com. Thanks for watching.